The new One Punch Man chapter has Garo vs Blast, Genos dying, and Saitama going serious mode. This chapter was crazy. Welcome back to another chapter breakdown. Let's just get right into it. It starts off with the crowd of people and heroes starting to falter due to the effects of the radiation that Garo is emitting. All the heroes are confused while Bong senses that Garo is not wholly himself and is being controlled by something or someone else. Bong stands up ready to fight as he bleeds from his mouth and flexes. Garo reiterates that all of this is of his own free will, and afterward Blast appears and backs up Silverfang. Blast continues and tells Garo that he's being controlled by God and that Garo should be able to sense it from the divine power he was given. He tells Garo that the attacks he releases could endanger the existence of all living things on Earth and asks Garo if that actually lines up with his goals. Garo thinks for a moment before asking Blast, even if that's true, what should he do about it? Blast then says, well, if you've accepted the reality of the situation, then let me lead you to another dimension, which makes Blast 4D and means he can beat Goku. Blast then tells Garo to look at the effect he's having on people here, and that they can't tolerate the cosmic radiation he emits and they'll all die purely from him just being there. Blast then thinks to himself that it seems that Garo still has some humanity left in him, and that it's possible that Garo was able to fight off God's full transference of power. Whether this means that Garo isn't as strong as he would have been had God given him 100% of his power, or if it just means that God was attempting to take over Garo is a bit ambiguous, but it seems to imply that Garo would have been much stronger physically if he hadn't fought off God as much as he could, even at the cost of his self. Blast also wonders how strong and what it would have been like if Garo had been fully imparted upon with God's power, and worries it could have been worse. Blast hopes that Garo will listen to him and go with him, but says that if not, it'll be a battle for supremacy between two beings who manipulate the reality of the cosmos, which means that Garo and Blast are both reality warpers and also 5D, which also means they solo Goku's entire verse. But beyond that, it implies that Blast has some sort of connection to the same power of God/universal power with the way he's referencing it. This would explain the similarities between both their power-ups seeming to be like black holes, but maybe we'll get more on this later. Garo laughs and says that divine power ain't that bad if it means just being around him means death. He thinks of this as him finally becoming the symbol of fear. Blast is unimpressed, and Bong, getting more tired as the sickness sets in, says not to be foolish. Garo then exclaims that he can't wait to see how the human race will change with the threat of constant fear of the absolute evil which is him, which makes Garo out-reversal and Saitama is above him, so Saitama solos Dragon Ball Super. Garo says that he is that miserable future, disaster-level god. Silverfang says he won't allow it, and Blast tells him to stand back and that he'll die if he gets too close. Bong says, so what, and says if you're going, you'll have to kill me first, he says. Garo looks at him and then thinks to himself, saying, absolute evil doesn't need anyone to understand it, others will be miserable just by being around it. Finish off the old man right here. I'll never see Tereo again either. That's how it needs to be for his sake. It cuts to Monaco attempting to run away until she trips because she begins bleeding out of her eye. When she gets back up, she sees Tereo is falling over, losing his hair and bleeding from his nose. The radiation got to him too. Someone exclaims move and rushes past Blast and Bong. It's Genos and he headbutts into Garo with what power he has left. Blast and Bong are both surprised to see him jump. Genos exclaims that he's not the only hero resistant to radiation. Garo grabs him by the hair and taunts him for being so heroic, and realizes that Saitama must have been super strong to have an S-class hero like him as an apprentice. Blast uses his Dimension Cannon attack, which is 11D, as a feint, and Garo says it's lame as Blast baits him into a portal, which allows Blast to use his Gravity Knuckle Punch and knocks Garo into another portal, where he continuously beats on him as Garo rotates through two portals very close together to keep it going nigh infinitely. Blast then shuts the portals into each other to smash Garo before realizing something is off as Garo hops out of a portal and says, I see how it is, and surprises Blast with a nuclear fission gravity knuckle attack. Blast opens portals to counter Garo's attacks and redirects them into the sky in the background. The portal blows up because of the energy overloading the portals. Blast realizes that if this continues, it's going to kill the planet. He thinks about getting everyone else out of the way first. Garo says that Blast isn't rank 1 for nothing, but to him, it's not even worth his attention. Garo leans over and picks up Genos and internally monologues that Baldy still wasn't giving it his all, and deduces that if he can copy and refine Saitama's full power, he can win. So to make him bring out his full strength, he kills Genos. Acid rain begins to fall as Saitama is standing there only meters away, having returned from the original Gamma Ray Burst attack, seeing what just transpired. He's not happy. Garo taunts him by asking, aren't you a bit late? Blast warns Saitama not to get too close. Bong has fallen over from the exhaustion and sickness at this point, and Garo tosses Genos' core to Saitama, which he catches in the rain and stares at. We see Genos' destroyed body and his watery, rained-in, bleeding corpse, and Saitama simply calls out Genos. Saitama thinks back to the time they were heading to the House of Evolution all those lifetimes ago, and Genos tells Saitama how amazing it is that Saitama always manages to be there on time, but that he guesses that's a hero for you. Saitama corrects him by saying, "Nah, I usually arrive too late." Saitama stands in the rain staring at Genos' heart and thinking to himself on if he really has a hero's intuition. Seeing all the death and destruction around him, the heroes collapsed and tired, King slumped over still trying to protect Fubuki and Tatsumaki, Moomin Rider and Sneck down for the count, and a tired Flashy Flash still being reluctant to give in. Saitama seems to think it doesn't seem like he has a hero's intuition, gets a bit serious, and uses his killer move Serious Punch while holding on to Genos' core. Garo goes mode Saitama and mimics the Serious Punch. The chapter ends as Blast exclaims that this power is bad because the earth will shatter. The end. Though this isn't the most important note, it should be said that I was 100% right in saying that Saitama didn't take damage last chapter, and any person still thinking that at this point is actually stupid. Clearly didn't bleed as shown here and throughout the chapter, and he tanked the star level attack like it was nothing since he came back instantly. So, I was right, and people making tons of comments and video responses to me trying to tell me I was wrong are looking like absolute clowns right now. But this chapter was absolutely insane. So not only were Garo's nuclear punches actually nuclear, he's simply emitting absurd levels of cosmic radiation by just existing. He and Blast seem to share some universal power, possibly both from God, but Garo doesn't seem to care about the implications other than they help him become more evil. The super drastic thing of this chapter is seeing Garo so willing to hurt Genos, as it doesn't seem like there's any way Garo could think this wasn't intentionally murdering Genos regardless of what happens after this. It definitely seems like Garo is happily crossing a line to become evil, because what he did here is simply just evil. And the taunting of Saitama afterward was just adding insult to injury, and was messed up. I don't think Saitama's going to kill Garo, but I do think he's at a point where he'll happily kick his ass, because Saitama is clearly pissed and blames himself for everything that happened because he arrived too late, doubting if he even really is a hero. Even if Saitama arrives late, I do think he's one of the most heroic people in the entire series. I know some people will disagree with that, but his heart and admiration of heroism is genuine and true. I do think Garo messed up extremely by doing all of that in front of Saitama, and then taunting him for it. Because the last person who tried destroying Genos got a hole blown through their chest, but we'll see what happens. I imagine Garo is going to get knocked around a bit while Saitama tries to beat his mistake into him. I know Garo thinks he can win against Saitama by mimicking his full power, but even assuming Garo can mimic Saitama's full power, he's not going to be able to win. He just messed up way too much. Also, Saitama's going to kick his ass. But to answer the big question, is Genos actually dead? Realistically, I don't know. There's the case that Genos' arc is not completely over, and his story is unfinished, so there's no way he can be dead right now. Maybe he gets revived by Dr. Kusuno, and since Saitama still has his core, they can revive him. But at the same time, the manga's diverged from the webcomics so much at this point that there's really no telling what's going to happen next. I don't want Genos to be dead, but I would give props to One and Murata if they actually are going down this path. Maybe he gets saved and this is another fake out, like with the Sea King incident, but it's a really well done fake out if it's that. I do hope Saitama bashes in Garo's face at this point. I think it's possible we're going to get a Saitama vs Garo fight either in space or in another dimension, due to the fact that Blast knows he can't keep either of them here without threatening the planet itself. So how this fight will continue will be interesting. All I know is Garo's getting stomped. But is there anything you guys want to mention about this chapter? What were your thoughts? Is Saitama going to kill Garo? Is Genos actually dead? What's going to happen next? I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to leave a like and a comment, and subscribe. It really does help out. And I guess I'll see you all next time.